What's up, YouTube? Today I made a lot of changes to the character. So when you're in the first couple days of the character, or first few days, that's when a lot of the changes happen and you try to optimize the character. Now this character has been proven to be quite a challenge to optimize. It wasn't as smooth as the claw. The claw build with Frostblades felt really simple. You pretty much had Nightblade, which carried you. So now I had to find a solution to get elusiveness, and then I had to find another solution to get life on hit. So you can see there's a lot of challenges to overcome, and then we also figured out a way to get Perma Berserk, and also have an instant shield swap to immediately get, immediately to get maximum rage. So you do that, and then you get maximum rage, and you still get full shaped. So I'm going to go into how you can actually map with full Perma Berserk. There is a little downtime, and that's when the Berserk is cooling down, but other than that, you should be pretty much up the whole map. I do think that brings the DPS in line for the build a lot more closely to what it shows on POB, because a lot of times POB has Berserk ticked, right? So a lot of times normally without this setup and this node that I took, because I switched out the ascendancy real fast, I'll go over it more into detail in the later parts of the video, because this thing allows us to get rage. So in essence, we're kind of playing like a slammer wander. The playstyle is kind of similar, obviously nowhere near as annoying and with having to press all the war cries. And it's actually incredibly fun to play. There is a little bit of a learning curve. And I do think this wander has extreme potential. I was able to do Tropical Island Deli all the way to the end and got around 200 splinters, which I feel like is a pretty big accomplishment. If you ever want to benchmark your build, I think the best way is to take it to Tropical Island Deli with greater forces and see if you can do it all the way through without the Headhunter. Obviously, if you have a Headhunter, it should be a lot easier, but this pretty much will tell you the clear speed of your build, how defensive it is, and a lot of other things about it. So that's a good way to benchmark your character. So in this video, I'm going to go over the gear and upgrades I made, because I did make a lot of upgrades to try to make the character tankier. Then I'm going to talk about how to achieve Perma Berserk, and I'm going to showcase a bossing clip. I was actually able to one-shot Awakener this time around. I know in the previous video, I actually didn't have rage in the video because I didn't set up Hydro Spear, but this time I had rage on the fight and it instantly dies. So let's get straight into the gear overview. A lot of people always ask me, how much is your gear actually worth? And I will have to tell them that I've probably spent close to around nearly a mirror for it. So while I go through all the pieces, I'll try to say how much I spent on it. So this one right here, I haven't really upgraded. I don't think it's possible to really upgrade this one. I guess I can try to get a better attack speed roll. So I guess it is possible, but for now, there's other pieces to figure out. And I don't think the one is really holding me back at the moment. So this one I bought for around 20x, and then I crafted it for, I think I used 2 reforged influences to get it, so that's 5x right there. And then I think I did 10x worth of veiled chaos orbs to get this, so probably a 40x wand to craft. However, these wands are very wide varying in price. If you try to make this wand yourself, it might cost a little more, a little less. It also depends on if you can buy the base for 20x with triple T1 prefixes, not T1, triple fizz prefixes. And these wands are a lot more common this time around purely because of ROG. So your mileage may vary on this item. This item here I actually crafted. So you can see now it has 59 life and regen. So the reason I made this helm, or I fixed up this helm from before, was the fact that physical damage is the bane of this build. And I was able to get physical damage from hits taken as fire, and that actually solved a lot of the fizz hits and instant deaths. Still die from here to there with instant kill if I don't have Fortify up. But that mod actually made a huge difference, I can say so myself, just from testing it out in all the maps I've done after I got the mod. And then I also got +1 proj, and then what that means is I had to do an Ashling gamble. I had to craft on suffixes cannot be changed after I got the fizz take it as fire. In order to get the fizz take it as fire, you have to craft on suffixes cannot be changed, reforge fire, and it's a 1 out of 2 chance to hit the mod to get T1, because there's 2 tiers of this, but it is guaranteed to get physical hit taking damage as fire. After you do that, you have to craft on suffixes cannot be changed again, and then you need to use Ashling and try to hit off the multi-mod or the meta mod, and then I got life on it, and I was able to craft on +1 proj. and Pierce, right? So the main thing about this whole craft is the fact that Pierce is actually extremely important to KB. We're able to get 3 Pierce total at the moment with anomalous KB and 1 from this helmet. You can also get 5 from the boots, but that's actually almost impossible, so I'm not really going to go for it at the moment. I guess it's technically possible to get it with 2 Pierce, and it shouldn't be that hard. And I do think with 5 Pierce total, it should be more than enough for the build. So this helm, I don't really know how much it costs, probably like 30x or so to craft, maybe a little more, 40x. So you can see these 2 pieces are already around 80x. So then you have the 2 Shape Call of the Brotherhoods. I bought these both for 14 exalts each, so it's like 28x. So it's like 108x already for the budget. This chest piece, so there's really nothing too special about the Call of the Brotherhoods. I will tell you that you actually probably do not need this to play, and I'll show you why in the next section, because I actually don't play full shape now in maps, and the full shape will only be for bossing. So this Eternity Shroud I bought for I think 6 exalts, and I just got all white sockets because I like white sockets because it allows you to experiment with the build a lot more. So you don't need to worry about recoloring the chest every time. So if you want to start off with the build, you're not too sure about the links, get a 6 white link Eternity Shroud and make sure the roll is 5% on the item because that's the most important one. So then what are we up to? So it's like 80 plus 28, 108, and then 5, 113x. And then I bought this amulet for I think 2 exalts at this a long time ago for the Frostblaze character. And this amulet, as good as it is not that great. I don't really need that much int. So I kind of want to get one with resist, as resists are a huge issue when we use the Red Blade Banner Shield. So we're at 110x for all the gear. And then I bought this pair of gloves for 30 exalts. So 130 exalts already from all these pieces. So the thing about this pair of gloves is you pretty much need to have faster attacks that have multi and slower proj on your pair of gloves because you need to have a lot of links on the KB. It's kind of a weird thing to say, but Kinetic Blast is not that good for clearing maps at the highest end, because it's not a 6 link, right? Even though right now it's a 6 link, it's still not that great. And the single target for Wanderers currently is actually more impressive than the clear. It's actually kind of weird to say, but it's true. So you definitely need gloves like these in order to boost the single target up. So a lot of people might be wondering why. And right now there's a lot of Wanderers, right? Like a Power Siphon. Like these people, they use these other gloves that have none of this, but this is like a tooltip warrior thing. Like you're trying to get as high of a Power Siphon damage as possible. These people's kinetic blast is really low, and they would probably struggle to do like Tropical Island Deli or something like that, especially when you don't have a Headhunter on. So I do think that kinetic blast is very, very important to have in Shaper Elder with multiple links. So this is kind of hard to make. I will go over how to make it in a later video, but basically you have to get faster attacks, and then you have to reforge crit to get multi, and then you have to craft on suffixes cannot be changed, and then reforge influence more likely to try to get slower proj and faster proj if possible. So this pair costs 30x, so now our character is up to what, like 130x or something. And this belt I bought for I think 3 exalts. It's really nothing too special, just a little bit of resist and chaos res and crafted on LE damage. And then this pair of boots I bought for I think 25 or so. So overall the character, if you include the cost of the Bottle of Faith and the shield, I bought for 2 exalts. Or was it more? I think 2 or 3 exalts. But the character is probably around a mere in investment total. Now most of the gear costs for the jewels are very, very cheap. And none of these jewels are going to be like a Blanket of Snow Vengeful Commander jewel that costs 10x. All of the large clusters cost me like 40 to chaos to 1x. And this pair of boots, I kind of want to get cooldown recovery now instead of chance to avoid elemental ailments. It should be a lot easier to get. Most people who make this pair of boots do Awaken Orb to get effective tailwind and cooldown recovery for cast on crit. So this pair of boots is actually pretty easy to buy, but we'll see if we can upgrade it right now. So in terms of our flasks currently, we have Bottle of Faith, Diamond Flash of Acceleration, Taste of Hate, Quicksilver of Adrenaline, and Dying Sun. Now, the only thing that really costs anything here is Bottle of Faith at 18 exalts. Yikes. So I don't really know how much a mirror is, so this build is probably around 200x, right? With this current gear I have on my character. You could probably get by with a lot cheaper and be able to do red maps and conquerors pretty easily. And you probably don't even need full shaped everything, but it is advisable to have as much shaped as possible. These gloves you probably don't need as good, and I only use these gloves because I'm trying to do Tropical Island Deli, which most people will not do with a Wander without Headhunter. So this shield here is pretty much just a damage shield. It has gain cold as extra chaos, which is really good. It has T1 attack speed, life, and some resist, and also spell damage for Wand Slinger. So overall, very good shield. I think I got pretty lucky buying this relatively cheaply. So if you look at our tree, it's a little different. I did drop this cluster over here because it felt inefficient. However, I might take it again just to get Call to Arms. I'm not sure now that I'm using War Cries. But basically, I dropped it because I was able to replace the Storm's Hand node of a Megalomaniac here with Feed the Fury and Storm's Hand. This is probably a pretty unique jewel that you probably won't be able to find another of. I don't really know. I only saw one when I bought it. But basically, that allows me to drop another large cluster. And what I use the points with is just taking more efficient damage nodes. So I took some Throat Seeker over here, and I think I went to get some more life somewhere, right? Well, I took these nodes right here. So it just ended up being a little bit more efficient. It's not like a huge difference. It was just a little bit better. It is incredibly hard to get crit multi on this build because the jewels with Power Scythe and Kinetic Blast aren't tagged with anything. It's not a lightning skill, it's not cold, it's not elemental, it's not a spell. So the only crit multi mod you can get is generic multi, so that's why I opted to try to get Throat Seeker, which does increase our damage by a fair share. I did get another jewel socket here for resist, as resist is a huge issue if I drop the shield, and I'll show you why. So basically the tree is a little bit different, a lot of little changes, but overall the general gist of the character is the same. And now I'm going to go into how do we actually achieve Perma Berserk. For Perma Berserk, we actually dropped this node right here, Crave the Slaughter. So this thing pretty much just makes it so that you get rage every time you attack, and no more than once every 0.3 seconds. So instead of getting that, we decided to use Warbringer, and this is actually something that are meant for slam builds. So how it works is when you Warcry, you get a certain amount of rage based on how many enemies are around you. But with the shield, Red Blade Banner, we're able to get max rage because it says Warcries have infinite power. So it's treating it whenever you Warcry, there's infinite enemies around you. So you can see we Warcry now, we get 50 rage, we press Berserk. And then as Enduring Cry finishes cooling off, we can press it again to bring it back up. And this will probably allow you to do one full rotation of the Berserk. And then the Berserk cools down a little bit. You can scale this with cooldown recovery, and then you just do it again. And then you can pretty much keep this up through a majority of the map. And it also makes bossing a little bit simpler, right? But you have to keep track of the Berserk, the timer of Enduring Cry. It's a little annoying to play. So this is not necessary to do it. It's just the top end of this build is a lot faster and a lot stronger doing it this way. And for bossing, if you face a boss, you won't need to run Red Blade Banner for, you won't need to actually weapon swap to full shape to do most bosses. This is only if you want to do Cyrus and you want to do Maven and other invitations really fast. So you pretty much just swap the slots, and then you can do this in between phases, and then you start the fight with 50 rage, and then you pretty much do this and then instantly kill the boss, right? And it should last, and it should die before you run out of rage generally. But if you don't kill it fast enough, then it's going to be a little bit annoying, but you can always weapon swap anytime and just be back to 50 rage and keep going. So it's actually a pretty big benefit to bossing too, right? Having that instant rage on demand with just a little swap here, and then you immediately go again, right? So Perma Berserk, incredible to play, a little bit annoying because you have to press another button for Enduring Cry. But if you can press Enduring Cry, this means we also get 3 endurance charges up at all times. So this helps out with our Immortal Call survivability, which means we can actually drop this flask, which I was using to get endurance charges, and run Dying Sun. So it ends up being a pretty net positive. Now, The build will feel a lot better with the more cooldown recovery we have. So cooldown recovery on boots will help out a lot, and then cooldown recovery on the belt. Now, a lot of people will ask, doesn't that mean that Eternity Shroud is a little bit useless? And the fact of the matter is, Eternity Shroud is the best chest for damage, bar none. Right? It's 40%, 45% extra elemental damage as extra chaos damage that gets applied at every single stage of the conversion chain. And even if you don't ignore enemy chaos res, it's still absolutely crazy. So, in general, for mapping, this also allows us to drop the belt and use Headhunter and not feel as bad. And that is going to be the ultimate mapping setup. Perma Berserk, having Headhunter buffs, doing juice maps, and the setup should feel amazing. I will have some footage tomorrow for it, as I will try it out. The main problem is you need pretty good gear with resists. I just currently don't have that, and it's actually incredibly hard to make the resist work. So right now, with the shield, I'm barely at... Well, actually, I'm kind of overcapped. Oh no, it's because the Bright Beak has stuff on it. Pretty troll, but... Yeah, because you can see right now, my resists are barely... So if I take off this belt, oh my goodness, how am I going to make that work? Where am I going to find that resist, right, with the Headhunter? So that's going to be the struggle, and we will see how it goes, right? So I'll try to make that work. So right now, it would help out a lot if my amulet, helmet, or gloves has some resist, but that's just a necessary problem to solve, like so many other things in this game. Basically, you can see that we have pretty good defenses overall now. It's not the best in the world, but with Berserk up, you're actually tankier than doing the other setup, even though we might have a little bit lower life. Berserk is, I think it's like a 26% damage reduction with the helm, because we have 30% increased buff effect, and Berserk gives us what, 20% less damage taken. So yeah, so it's what, like 26% less damage taken, which actually makes us relatively tanky. And we also still have acro and phase acro. So Perma Berserk is a thing. You can actually maintain it throughout the mapping, and it feels amazing to play. And you can also have it up during bossing while having full shaped and still having the amazing single target. I'm just going to showcase a few clips of the bossing that I did today. And it was a lot better against Awakener. And I'm going to show a Tropical Island. It's still incredibly hard without Headhunter though. overall, I'm pretty excited for this build in the coming days. And a lot of people might be asking, should I play this build? And the honest answer I have is like, sometimes I say like, oh, you can wait a little bit because I just want to like fully test out the character before actually like recommending it to people. But right now the character feels pretty good to play, and I think it can do all content pretty easily. It has a pretty high ceiling, and being able to use a Headhunter and not feel so bad about it because the opportunity cost was canceled out with the Red Blade banner feels really good. And I do think that it will be a really, really good juice map farmer, especially with haste and then haste ores from Headhunter and then getting scaled off Berserk. It should be absolutely insane. And I did get Awakened GMP to get an extra projectile and kinetic blast. So I also got this, and they say this game is not pay to win, but Celestial Kinetic Blast just looks so much better, so it's definitely pay to win. It feels like I do more damage, it feels like I do more coverage and everything, so definitely try to get Celestial Kinetic Blast if you haven't. And in terms of if you should play this build or not, in terms of investment, this build does as much damage as like multiple mirror instackers. And I do think that this build is worth playing if you have the currency to start up. This is definitely not a league starter or first build. It's definitely a build that you should have some currency saved up before you go into it. And you also have to keep in mind, you probably have to craft a large number of the pieces of gear besides probably the gloves and boots. But thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you find more mirrors and exalts than I do, and see you next time. Bye.